Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to stick to Japan and we're going to have a look at another beer from a brewery who I rate pretty highly actually. These guys are doing some very nice IPAs and definitely a brewery that you want to keep your eye on if you're interested in Japanese craft beer. So for this one we're going to go to Yamanashi Prefecture once again, just out to the west of Tokyo, and we're having a taste of my third beer from Uchu Brewing. Now this one comes from their Big Bang series, and Uchu Brewing, if you translate it into English, literally means space brewing. So this Big Bang series of beers is supposed to tell the story of the birth of the universe. So this particular one is called the Thunder. It comes in at 6% ABV. It's another IPA, and judging by how it looks when you put the light through it, I'm guessing that this one is going to be a New England hazy type IPA. So really curious to see how this one turns out, and as always I hope you guys enjoy my take on this beer. So yeah, let's see how we get on with this one. But as always, or as usual I should say, with these Japanese beers, this is one that was bought at liquor shop Asahiya in Taishibashi Yamaichi in Osaka. Rika and Koji kept this one aside for me, so a huge thank you to them once again. As always, the link to their Facebook page is in the description below. They've always got some really interesting Japanese beers as well as things from elsewhere, so make sure you check them out if you find yourself here in Osaka. But as usual with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Uchu Brewing before. No doubt there will be some more at some point in the fairly near future. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Japanese beers that I've reviewed for you. That's being added to whenever I get the opportunity. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, on to my brewery notes then to tell you a little bit about Uchu Brewing. So as I've told you before, Uchu Brewing were founded back in 2017 by Masahiro Kusunoze and Rumiko Suzuki, and they both came from a background in agriculture. They were farmers by trade, and they first encountered craft beer on a trip to the US West Coast, and they found that they loved the different personalities that you could have at each brewery, and they wanted to bring this back to Japan and get Japanese people to enjoy this as well. So the first thing that they did was to plant hops on their farm, and they've got their own hop fields right next to the brewery, and they often hand pick the hops that go into their beers. So Masahiro is the main brewer, and Rumiko mainly does the marketing and business side of things, but she also does take part in the brewing process and the farming side of things as well. But they now have their own brewery, which is in Hokuto in Yamanashi Prefecture, and there's a substantial amount of the funding for this came from crowdfunding actually. So these guys are one of the first crowd-funded breweries in Japan, which I think is pretty cool. There are one or two others, and the names have gone straight out of my head now, but there are a few other crowd-funded breweries here in Japan as well. But as I mentioned to you earlier, the name of the brewery, Uchu, literally translates into English as space, so their name is kind of Space Brewing, and all their beers are usually named after astronomical themes and stuff like that. The Sun IPA, the Aldebaran, was named after one of the constellations actually, and you know, as I say, they've got this Big Bang series now which is telling the story of the birth of the universe. I'm not sure which number in the series this one is. I did read on Koji's website that it might have been number 2, but I think this is the very first one that I've seen, and he usually does get most of the Uchu Brewing beers coming through actually, so I'm not sure exactly which number in the series this one is, but I'm just glad to be able to try one of the beers from this series for you. You know, very rare to try something like this, and like I say, probably the best Japanese brewery when it comes to IPAs at the moment, although Isakadoya are also very good. But all the breweries tend to know each other in Japan, and that's a pretty cool thing as well. But yeah, that's all you really need to know about Uchu Brewing for the moment. If you want to learn more, of course, you can check out the brewery website in the description below. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with the latest goings on. They do have their own YouTube channel as well, which blogs about some of their brewery visits and things that they do, so I'll try and remember to put the link to that in the description below as well. But of course you can check out the Rate Beer and Untappd pages to see all the different beers that they've done. But I think, you know, these guys have done maybe around 40 or 50 different beers actually. They've got lots of different batches of things. So yeah, let's get on and actually taste this beer then. So yeah, as you can see with this one, the artwork on this is pretty minimalist compared to some of the other stuff that you're going to find from Uchu Brewing. This little thing here, it actually reminds me of in chemistry when we studied like orbital hybridization, when you're talking about molecules and atoms kind of bonding together and how these things, the molecular orbital formation, it reminds me of that, you know, sp, sp2 and sp3 and things like that, when you're talking about you know, covalent bonding and stuff. It's quite interesting, that's what it really reminds me of. But definitely quite minimalist, as I say, compared to some of the other ones that I've come across from these guys. It talks a little bit on the side and it basically tells you the story of the Big Bang here, and it's kind of what I said to you earlier. He basically wants to do a series of beers that describe the you know, the birth of the universe, essentially. That's what it kind of says here, and it says a little bit about how thunder was, you know, one of the first things that kind of came to be. So yeah, let you have a little look at the bottle cap. It's just a plain one there, and I'll put this up so those of you who are Japanese speakers, you can pause that and just have a little read at it if you want. But yeah, this one is batch number 113. I think the Sun that I reviewed for you before was like batch 109 or something like that. So yeah, nicely presented beer, this one. 350 milliliter bottle. I think 330 this one actually. Usually it's 350 in Japan from what I gather, but 330 milliliter bottle. Let's get it out and we'll get on with the tasting then. The Thunder IPA, part of the Big Bang series from Uchu Brewing in Yamanashi Prefecture in Japan. I always have to watch with these videos because in Japan you have Yamaguchi, Yamazaki and Yamanashi, and you know, I'm sure that I've done a few beer videos and sake videos where I've mixed that up, so if I do get that wrong in these Japanese videos, do let me know. I mean, from what I remember, Yamanashi is the one that's to the west of Tokyo, Yamaguchi is the one that's right at the bottom of Honshu, and Yamazaki is somewhere in Tohoku, in the north of Honshu actually. So they're in different places, I know where they are, but you know, when you're doing these videos and you're saying words from a different language, essentially, you can get a little bit confused. But like I said to you, this one, the Thunder, is an IPA at 6% ABV. The hops in this one are Citra, which we know very well, and Idaho 7, which is getting more popular in recent times. It's known for its kind of piney notes and also the kind of stone fruity, passion fruity kind of notes, actually. It's a really interesting hop. It's a little touch earthy as well from what I remember, but we'll look at that later on when we look at the flavour. But in terms of appearance, this one is pretty much what you would expect from a New England IPA. This is a lovely looking beer, I have to say. If I put my fingers behind the glass there, you can see it is pretty damn hazy. I mean, there's not anything really coming through from this one. This one looks like some of the Gamma Brewing beers that I would normally drink in Denmark, or some of the Stigbergets things that we get in Sweden. It's a lovely, I have to say, that's a beautiful looking New England IPA. You can see there was a solid half finger of a frothy, bright white head on this one. I would say it's perfect white. It's not even creamy in colour. It's definitely a perfect white beer, and in terms of the colour of the beer itself, I would describe this one as being, you know, quite definitely a kind of perfect yellow almost. It's almost like a mango juice colour, this one, rather than anything else. But one or two big bits of carbonation at the bottom of the glass, but mainly you can just see like a very fine stream of carbonation going up towards the bottom of that head there. But overall, it looks very nice, exactly as you would expect for a New England IPA. So let's have a closer look at that aroma then and just see how we get on. Oh yeah, that's really nice. So straight away with this one, it's the fruitiness that jumps out at you. Straight away you've got some of these kind of lovely mango notes that you'd expect of the Citra. There's yeah, lovely juicy mangoes in there, some kind of passion fruity notes, a little bit of a sort of how do you say, it's got a little bit of a kind of papaya, apricot-y kind of thing. There's something a little bit softer in this one underneath the mangoes as well. But I would say there's a wee bit of a gooseberry lychee kind of thing. That'll be coming from the Citra. Citra can give you some really nice sort of complexities to it, and at the front of the nose I'm really just getting a little bit of like lychee, gooseberry sort of thing. Behind that, to me, there's a little bit of a kind of mango, papaya, you know, yeah, papaya, apricot-y type thing. You've got a bit of a mango to it as well, but at the back of the nose you can pick up a slightly stronger passion fruity quality to this beer, and that will be the Idaho 7 that's giving it the more kind of passion fruity note. But that said, Citra can give you a little bit of a grapefruity note depending on what malt base and stuff it's mixed with and what other hops it's mixed with as well. So there's some of the stronger, darker tropical fruits in this are probably coming from both of the hops, to be quite honest. But I would say, in terms of the fruitiness, this one leans towards the lighter, kind of juicy end of the spectrum, if you like. Normally, of course, you expect a West Coast IPA to be that little bit danker. You expect a New England IPA to be a little bit more kind of creamy and juicy. But yeah, the fruitiness in this beer is really very, very nice, actually. So yeah, in terms of the green side of the hops, I would say that this one does have a good bit of a kind of floral, piney kind of bite to it. Actually, Citra is always going to give you some nice kind of floral notes, but the Idaho 7 is really giving this beer just almost a little bit of a kind of spicy note, to be honest. I'm not sure, I would struggle to say whether this one is piney or whether it's kind of spicy and floral, but it's definitely got a little bit of that kind of bite to it, if it makes sense. There's something between piney resinous and sort of spicy floral quality. There's something like that in the nose here. You can pick out a teeny little bit of earthiness, but not very, very much. And the malt base comes across as quite interesting too. I mean, you can pick out, I think it's mainly a kind of wheat malt base that's in this, and it actually reminds me, it's got the wheat has a little bit of bite to it as well, actually, which is, you know, I've been reviewing the Trilliums and the Tree Houses and things like that recently, and Alchemist not too long before that. You know, I've always said each of these different breweries, Hill Farmstead as well, those are the big four of the New England IPAs. They all have their own characteristics. The ones that are more bitey with the wheat tend to be the Trilliums. And the way that the malt base comes out in this one reminds me a bit more of Trillium rather than the others. It's definitely got a bit more of a kind of pungent, wheaty quality to it in my mind. There's a wee bit of a notey creaminess at the front of the nose, but mainly to me, the malt base comes across as being more sort of wheaty, I think. I'd be curious to know that, actually. There's a little teeny bit of biscuit or something in there as well, but mainly a wheaty malt base in my mind. It's got a nice little bite to it, but that suits the kind of piney, the sort of piney and spicy floral notes that the beer has as well. So in terms of aroma, really interesting one this. I've not had Idaho 7 too many times, but I know that it's quite an interesting complex hop, and it's becoming more and more popular, actually. So let's have a taste of this one then and see how we get on. This one is the Thunder, a 6% New England style IPA from the Big Bang series at Uchu Brewing in Hokuto, Yamanashi Prefecture, out to the west of Tokyo here in Japan, with Citra hops and Idaho 7 as well. Let's get stuck in. Slàinte, skål, kanpai. Yeah, that's really pretty damn nice, actually. So as I said, you know, this, as I've said before, this brewery are doing some really, really nice stuff. I mean, I reviewed the Aldebaran back in the summer, if I remember correctly, summer 2019. And since I've come to Japan this time, I've reviewed the, I reviewed the Sun and now this one. So I've had a West Coast IPA with the Sun and now I've had a New England IPA, and it just kind of shows you this brewery are really good within this IPA category, because the West Coast one was really kind of solid. It was a nice old school West Coast IPA, but they're also doing things like this which I think are really cool. I'm sure they've done a black IPA at one point. I'd love to see how they would do a black IPA, because I think that's a really underrated style these days. It was all the rave back in like 2016 or so, but I'd be very curious to see how Uchu would do one of these. But this is a lovely, it's a lovely New England IPA, this one. It's got a little bit of a Japanese characteristic to it as well, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So yeah, first thing you're going to notice, and I've said this about Japanese beer regularly, you know, to the Japanese, beer always has to be drinkable. It's just how they think about it. I've always found that with Japanese craft beers, regardless of what style it is, you're always going to have an element of like crispness and drinkability to the beer, and you definitely get that out of this one. So this one, and the beers are always very full flavoured, but they just are a little bit lighter in the mouthfeel in my mind, and you get that from this beer as well. But it's packed full of flavour. This one gets a thumbs up from me. It's quite a nice, sessionable New England IPA actually, but it's 6%, you know, it's kind of a middle of the road one. It's not like a 4% or something like that, or a 5%, which is a more sessionable beer in European terms. But this is lovely. This is as good as what you're going to get from the likes of Stigbergets in Sweden and Dugas and Gamma and things like that as well. You know, this is as good as the kind of Scandinavian beers that I normally drink actually. So yeah, check out this brewery if you get the chance. It's a bit of a shame with the Japanese beers, of course, because you can find some really good ones like Shiga Kogen, you know, Isakadoya, Mino Beer, Uchu Brewing, and you know, there's others as well, St. Gallen and things. There's some really good beers here, but they're never going to find their way outside of Japan. Hopefully Uchu are one of the ones that start to break that mould actually, because these beers are as good as you're going to find in Europe and things, and America as well. You can say the same about the Hong Kong and Korean beers these days as well actually. But yeah, let's try and break the flavour of this one down a little bit then. So, middle of your palate, this beer, you feel that nice kind of white bready, wheaty quality, that blankets the middle of your tongue. In the middle of the palate, you get there is a little bit of an oaty creaminess to this one, but I don't think there's too much in the way of oats in this beer, to be honest with you. In the very centre of your palate, you get a little bit of a biscuity sweetness. That's kind of where the boozy part of the beer is coming out, but you don't really feel the alcohol in this one. It's only 6%, so you're not really gonna. But yeah, this is. I thought this beer was going to be really bitey and wheaty, kind of like the Trillium ones, but it's actually a little bit smoother than that. It's got a little bit of that kind of Trillium bite to it, but it's almost got a little bit more of the kind of treehouse sort of smoothness, if that makes sense. This is it kind of finds its home somewhere in the middle of that actually. Yeah, it really is nice that. I mean, the Japanese, they're great at producing drinkable beers and you know, packing a lot of flavour into them, and this one is absolutely no exception to that rule. The malt base is nice and light, it's got an element of crispness to it. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a little bit of Pilsner malt, German Pilsner malt or Czech Pilsner malt, Pilsen malt it should be, in the middle of the malt base, because you do get a little bit of crispness in the centre of your palate too. That's quite a popular thing to do over in Europe these days. There's a lot of breweries adding Pilsner malt into their New England malt bases, but the way the malt base is done in this one is really solid and it complements the hops really quite nicely. On to the hoppy side of the beer then. Back corners of the palate, there's a little touch of earthiness there. As you move further forward along the sides of the tongue, that smoothens out a little bit, and then as you reach the front corners of the palate, it's nice and floral, it's nice, and it's almost a little bit spicy as well actually. You feel a little bit of that darker kind of piney resin note to this one, which is interesting, and then around the very front curve of the palate, it's that little bit lighter and more grassy, and then behind the front curve of the tongue, it's a little bit kind of it's a little bit oily, and that's where you get that nice oily bubble where those juicy fruity esters start to push their way out of the beer. So yeah, for me then, this one, it really leans towards the nice lighter and juicy tropical end of the spectrum. So if you go to the back of that oily bubble, there's a teeny little bit of a stronger passion fruit there. As you come further forward from it, it's a little bit kind of more mango-y. And then as you move further forward again, that's where you get some of these kind of lighter sort of papaya, apricot-y type flavours. And then as you reach the kind of front part of your palate, it's actually a little bit more kind of limey or something like that, or maybe a little bit of a lemon limey quality. I'm not really picking up the sort of gooseberry lychee kind of notes that I was picking up in the aroma. To me, it's a bit drier on the front of the palate than that. It's a little bit more kind of lemon limey in that sense, but I really like how that goes together actually. This is a really nice, quite it's almost a little bit zesty, to be honest with you. It's quite a fresh feeling IPA, this one, but at the same time it's very crisp and drinkable. So I mean, that's the things that this one really has going for it in my opinion. It's a very nice example of the New England IPA style, and like I say, in Japan now you've got Uchu, who are very good at these kind of beers, and you've also got Isakadoya, who are doing some very nice examples of this style as well. I'd love to see what Shiga Kogen could do with this actually. I'm not sure if they've been releasing New England IPAs yet. They've been mainly doing the kind of West Coasty type ones. But yeah, these guys are very, very capable when it comes to this style. And this is another beer where they've shown just that. But for me, this one's one of the more crisp New England IPAs that you're going to come across. So that really suits the Japanese palate down to a T. So, you know, well done to them. And as I say, cool to try one from the Big Bang series as well. A quite crisp, light and juicy, tropical feeling IPA, this one. I really like how that goes together. In terms of the mouthfeel then, I would say this beer, it's at the bottom end of mid-bodied. Maybe that's not quite fair, it's maybe more in the middle of mid-bodied. Carbonation, as I say, is quite crisp in this one. The mouthfeel overall, it comes across as very clean, and you know, I'm not sure if you can technically say that Yamanashi is the Tohoku region, but you do get quite a few good sakes from Yamanashi, from what I understand. And where there's good water in Japan, there's good sake. The Japanese water comes across as very clean. It's a volcanic island basically, so you can pick up some of that kind of cleanliness in the mouthfeel with this beer. That adds to the kind of crispness that you get out of it. In terms of the hoppy bitterness, I think we're talking maybe, I think this is about 30 IBUs. It could be a little bit more at around 40, but I think somewhere in the region of 30. The middle of your palate, quite smooth again, a little bit of sweetness in there, but mainly quite smooth and quite crisp, and you've got some lovely, juicy, tropical fruity notes to this one too. So I mean, overall, this is another lovely IPA from Uchu Brewing. I wanted to say Big Bang there, because it's got Big Bang right on the bottle, but another very, very solid beer from these guys, and definitely cool to try one from their Big Bang series as well. I do have another one from this series that I'll review for you in a few videos time, and like I say, hopefully beyond that I can review a few more as well. But the Thunder is really very, very, very nice. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to find this one again. They might rebrew it, but this is definitely another very nice example of a New England IPA from here in Japan, so check it out if you get the chance. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this one then. This one is the Thunder, a 6% New England IPA with Citra and Idaho 7 from the Big Bang series at Uchu Brewing in Hokuto in Yamanashi Prefecture out to the west of Tokyo. A very, very good brewery here in Japan at the moment. So yeah, once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this one in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Uchu Brewing as well. I'm sure I'll return to these guys at some point in the near future, because they are a very damn good brewery in my opinion. But if you get the chance to come here to Japan, definitely check them out, and make sure you go and check out liquor shop Asahiya in Taishibashi, Machi, Osaka if you get the chance. Thank you again for watching. Check out my social media, and I'll catch you guys very soon. The Thunder IPA from the Big Bang series at Uchu Brewing in Hokuto, Yamanashi here in Japan. Slanja, Skål, Kampai. Make sure you check out this beer.